36, and you're tuned in to Nationwide at 5. It's a special broadcast marking the 21st year of operation for Z Jamaica. Z Jamaica is a high powered interactive creative agency specializing in web based school information systems. They've been telling us about all the exciting ways they're using technology to transform the operations at schools. We're now being joined by Executive Vice President of Fax International, Mark Weil. Good evening.
Evening, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
In this segment, we'll be talking to Mr. Weil about Fax SIS, RenWeb School Management Systems. So go ahead, Mr. Weil. Explain to us what exactly is Fax International and what do you do?
Yeah, thank you again for having me on this evening and for the program. It's been fun to be a part of this so far. So, Carlton mentioned earlier the brand name Fax, and I've been a part of this organization for about 2 decades now. Carlton and I have a long, enduring relationship. I tell people he's my brother. They look at me twice like, oh, wait a minute, how is that? But we're of one mind, heart, and vision, and we have had an exciting time extending that vision into the Jamaican culture and market, educational market. Fax International is the arm of Fax that is responsible for the diversification of our organization by bringing our products and services into international markets. And that was something that we began around 2005 and have really amped that up in recent years with a degree of urgency. But our design in delivering our services globally is through a distribution model where we credential and provide authority and access for companies like Z Jamaica to be on the ground, boots in the ground, understand the culture, and deliver our services to the local K-12 educational market. So we now are quite diversified. We have approximately 10 global offices. We have schools actively using our system in about 65 countries. So obviously the largest footprint that we have is within the U.S., where 1 in 2 private schools use one of our services, which is a pretty staggering statistic when you think about it. But we're really working hard, and we're anxious to have that replicated in other sectors, and this is why we're really pleased with the work that Z Jamaica has done and the progress that we've made.
I hear you on yourself and Carlton Grant being like brothers, of one mind, one heart, one vision. But specifically, what was it about Z Jamaica that made you confident, that made Fax International confident that this is an outfit you wanted to partner with?
So, I'm asked this a lot because people will say, well, how did you find your partner in Jamaica, or how did you find your partner in Pakistan? Mm-hmm. And, some of it's luck, to be quite honest, and some of it's relationship, or some of it's inquiry. And in Z Jamaica's case, they reached out to us, as Carlton mentioned, because they decided that they wanted to find an innovative solution. Now, if you go back 20 years, and Paul would confirm this, that finding school information systems that were cloud hosted 2 decades ago was very rare. In fact, our company was really the first company that took that approach and introduced an innovative hosted solution that really caught on like a fire, and people were so thrilled and excited about it. So Z Jamaica reached out to my office, and this goes back some 17, 18 years ago, and we just started a conversation. And I had never been to Jamaica before and didn't know anyone in your country, and it just sort of, we just hit it off. It was like we shared a common fervor and passion for what we wanted to accomplish. We felt confident in Zed's integrity of purpose and mission, and we developed a strategy that we both could get behind. And as Carlton mentioned, I think our first school was Campion, and it just progressed from there. So obviously, we've built up a lot of confidence and trust over these years, and we see them as one of our foremost distributors.
So what sets the FACS SIS school management system apart from its competitors?
Well, as I mentioned 20 years ago, it was much easier to distinguish yourself as a software provider because at that time you had platforms that were being designed on software that literally you don't really see today. I'm talking about coding and programming. And you saw the standard at that time was a locally hosted product. You buy it, you install it on your server in the school, you use a local area network, and you broadcast it either through Ethernet or however you choose to do that inside the walls of your building. So we were innovative from the beginning, and that really helped us attract a lot of consumers because over the last couple of decades, families are looking for ways to forage and gather information other than being able to walk into the school and have a conversation, which has become increasingly difficult with, congestion, traffic, schedules, both parents working, you name it. There's a lot of reasons. So as time has elapsed, though, it's become more difficult to distinguish ourselves in the sense that a lot of people copy a lot of people, and so you have a lot of cloud-hosted solutions today. That's not a distinguishing point anymore. And really, the part that really makes sense, and I think all of our listeners will understand this when I say this, is that we like to have everything that we need in a small sphere of influence. It doesn't matter if we're cooking in the kitchen. We don't want to have the knife in the bedroom and the roller, in the garage and the pot in the back porch. We want everything close by where we can get to it. And that's really the way that we think about our product. We want to have a very cohesive solution that's highly integrated, that allows schools to be able to use it without a lot of redundant work and without the worries of, is someone going to break in our institution and they're going to take our data, or they're going to try to break into the transmission of our data and perpetrate and steal information that way. So you have to have a reputation of excellence where the data is protected and secure. That's just number one. Everybody's talking about that,
and that would be my next question, Mark. While for a Jamaican school administrator who is listening and thinks, yeah, that sounds like something I'd want to get on board with, but I've heard of hacking. I've heard of people, holding data at ransom and requiring me to pay millions of dollars to get it back. What assurance can you give them that, if they come on board with the system, then the data is secure?
So there's two parts that make the whole. And the first part is that you want the company that you're partnering with, and, we can look at the things that are around us where we're sitting right now, those mobile devices that you have in your hands or that are sitting on the table in front of you. We place our trust in institutions and businesses to use state-of-the-art, proven technologies that are protected against perpetration. So that means that companies like ours, we need to use hosting services that are considered platinum standard. And you're talking about Microsoft Azure cloud hosting, for example, which is what we use. Or you could use AWS, Amazon Web Services, as another one. These are the most common platforms that are hosting data for the majority of the businesses that we know today. So you want to put your data in an environment like that, but then you also have to think about what's happening when the data is being transmitted from A to B. So now we're talking about using encryption technology, and we employ the highest consumer encryption technology that is available to businesses, and that is essential for us to ensure that we are protected from potential intrusion. Now, that's the one half. The other half has to do with the local institution. So as a consumer, no matter who you are, if you go to the ATM and you're just boldly putting in your PIN number when someone's standing beside you, you're placing yourself at risk, right? So it's the same within schools. Schools have to have policies and train personnel about the importance of protecting their passwords. They cannot share those. They should not share them even with an individual that works within the institution. They certainly should not allow a student to stand over their shoulder as they enter their password to log into their system and so forth. These are just common sense things, but people can make mistakes. But in that event, we do have a rigorous backup and redundancy of data archives so that if a school has someone within their school that, goes ahead and just deletes some records, that they could approach us and receive a backup that would be within 1 day and would help them to restore that. But we as a company have never had a single intrusion or compromise of our data since our company was formed, which we are proud of.
Yeah, and that should help in offering some peace of mind to those who already use the system and those who may be considering it. So we're going to turn our attention now to the WAVE Awards. That's an interesting name, the WAVE Awards. What's that about?
Well, the WAVE Award is an award that we just actually designed and initiated. And we have a small management team that focuses on the international side of our business, but we have a much larger division within the U.S. But globally, we have several hundred people that are managing our business across all these offices. And in our core management team in the U.S., we were talking about this, and we just said, we need to start being more proactive about honoring and recognizing the amazing work that our distribution partners like Zed Jamaica, for example, has done all these years. And we developed a criterion that we thought this is the right stuff that we ought to be looking for when we're trying to decide who would be the company that we would want to honor as the World Award of VAR Excellence within an annual period. And so we developed that criteria, and it's logical things. It's like, did they increase their top line revenue year over year and achieve their sales goals? You heard from Sean, who's very passionate. Do they utilize our infrastructure effectively, like our CRM, Salesforce.com? Did they present a professional storefront as a business in terms of the way that they approach prospective schools and handling current schools from a customer service and loyalty perspective? And are they innovative, and are they looking at how to grow their brand? So these are all the kinds of things that we use as an evaluation of all of our distribution offices. And we unanimously, it was interesting, the process, because everybody has a voice and you've got a lot of choices, and everybody unanimously penned Zed Jamaica as the company that we wanted to honor during the 2023 business year.
Oh, so congratulations, Mr. Grant.
So tell me more about the WAVE Award. Exactly what does it entail in terms of, does it convey any special benefit to the distributor that wins it?
Well, we just think that there's a certain degree of important publicity that comes from this. And I do want to congratulate Zed Jamaica on the air with us here today, because we're really proud of their accomplishments. I mean, when you think about going into any culture and country where there is no brand awareness at all, and you have to start a conversation. You start a conversation with one school and you just start having conversations, and people are resistant to change. We've talked about that during the first segment, right? And so you have to inspire them for the reasons why it's important to innovate, modernize, and overcome some of the barriers that are related to the practices that they've been keeping up for all these decades and even centuries. So I really commend them for building a brand awareness and a followership and sort of a wagonistic culture around the FACS student information system and the importance that it can play and is playing today in the presence of K-12 education in the country of Jamaica. And so we have made an internal announcement in our company to acknowledge them. We have around 9,000 employees in our parent company, so that went out to everyone to make them alert and aware. If they hadn't heard of Zed Jamaica before, they know them now, and we're proud to have your country's name in that company name, and that people are hearing and seeing that. There was an article that was written and published so that people could see faces and hear stories. And I'm going to be in Kingston this coming Monday, actually, and there for several days. It's like a second home to me. I'm holding out for citizenship, but no one's come up to me and offered me a passport yet, but one of these days. But I do love coming there, and I'm going to be there on Monday, and we're going to have a dinner and recognize the team and applaud their great work.
Yeah. And where are some of the other countries, or what are some of the other countries where you've had partners who you've been able to bestow this award on, this WAVE award?
Well, we have not yet, because this is the first time that we ever had this award issued out. 2023 was our first year.
All the more reason to congratulate Zed.
It's true. It's very true, because it was wide open. No one had ever received this before.
Yeah.
We've got offices now in Canada. We have them in Madrid, Spain, Karachi, Pakistan, Tegucigalpa, Honduras, Guam over in the Greater Oceania Marianas area. So we've got quite a breadth of real estate that we're working within.
Yeah.
And this island that's sitting down here in the Caribbean called Jamaica is first up to bat. So we're proud of them.
Yeah, no, that's impressive, because I don't think a lot of people would immediately think Jamaica when they think of a country being at the edge of technological, innovation and development. So congratulations again to Zed.
And certainly, Mr. Weil, after coming to that conclusion, because it seems that you came to that conclusion almost unanimously amongst your staff, when you looked at what Zed Jamaica accomplished, do you see where you can now take that success and replicate it elsewhere?
Sure. There's some things that Carlton, Paul, the entire team has emulated that I think is important. Number one, their availability and attention to their customers is top shelf, like number one. And so that has allowed them to retain schools, even going through what would be considered the most difficult economic and social phase of during COVID that we've ever seen in life and business. So that is completely worth emulating in terms of their attention to customer. Other things that they've done, though, this very thing that we're doing here today, just being on air, communicating with the citizens and hosting swim meets and just really showing that we want to be actively involved in the community in other ways. And establish relationships, friendship, and loyalty, trust. There's a lot that they're doing well, and we're proud of them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then, so now, going forward now, what do you see for the future of the partnership between FACS International and Zed Jamaica?
So this is something that I think, again, I'm going to draw some energy from the first segment that we did when we're talking about this question. It's a bit of a dichotomy in the sense that, you always have those early adopters.
Yeah.
And people say, well, yeah, we understand that you are embedded in schools X, Y, and Z. They're more native technologist-focused institutions. But what about institutions ABC? And those could be, you have many rural areas in Jamaica.
Yes.
We early on had terrible difficulty with getting internet access in order to be able to have a cloud-hosted solution even work. So while we can be proud of ourselves that we have a core followership of schools, which is substantial on the island, there is a whole lot of unrealized potential that is still there for us to approach. And one of the things that was said earlier when we were talking about school administrators and getting the older guard, I'm a school director, so I can say this, and I hope all the school administrators that are listening right now will take heart from this. I come from that side of the world. I was involved in education, a school director, and it doesn't mean that what the schools are doing is wrong if they are still using dated practices. Because that's what they know and they're familiar with.
Yes.
It's just that it limits their ability to do more. So you can say, well, I've got a landline. Why do I need a mobile phone? Well, it's great as long as you're inside the four walls of your house and you're using your landline. But the minute that you step outside, you don't have a phone, right? So it's that sort of psychology that we need to be able to step into the modernization era of education. Now, I want to pinpoint this, though, because this is really important. We've talked a lot about efficiency and not having to go stand in the bank and then get a receipt and on and on.
Right.
And those things are real. Efficiencies, and I've always said, if it was just about efficiency, that would really be enough. But it's about so much more, because the kind of families that we're educating today, they're native technologists, right? How many parents do you know that have children in primary or middle or even secondary school that don't have one or two cell phones, right? I mean, they're relying upon mobility. And so
especially in this post-COVID era. Yeah,
100%. So those families are relying upon mobility, and we have to think about what we're delivering to our customer as a school. These families are our responsibility and our customer. So we're saying, listen, the only way that we can properly educate and have our best shot at helping all these young people become the best that they can be, we need to be able to have transparency of what's going on.
Right.
Parents need to be informed about where the child is, what they're doing, and how they're progressing, and get involved in a conversation and say, what can we do? How can we do this together? But if you have to run back and forth physically into an institution every time you're having those conversations, a lot of things are going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah. So essentially, yes to schools and yes to the integration of the technology in schools, but you're saying you also see other opportunities in other sectors. What are some of those?
Well, I think, we're only limited by our creativity. So, one of the things that we learned during COVID was that a lot of people had to get really good at trying to do things like we're doing here today, online, communicating remotely. And then I think, and I've said this to a lot of schools as I've talked in different places around the world, think about the brightest teacher that you ever had, or that you have right now in your school. Maybe it's that chemistry teacher, maybe it's an English teacher, whatever it is. And think to yourself, how many students are there globally that need to take advantage of that person's knowledge? What are you doing to leverage that? I mean, Jamaica's full of bright people. You've got people all over the world. You have more people living outside Jamaica than you do Jamaicans living within Jamaica.
Indeed.
And they're doing amazing things. So we need to retain that brain trust, right? We want to keep Jamaicans invested in Jamaica, and we want them to self-actualize and get as far as they can. So here we have brilliant teachers. We have students that can develop peer relationships and work on projects creatively across borders, right? It doesn't have to be the student that's sitting across from you in the classroom. It can be anywhere.
So it's about that connectivity. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is getting the right people connected and sparking ideas and developing creativity and accomplishment. There was a, and I like to tell this story. There's a school in China that was one of the most innovative schools that I've ever really seen a case study on, and the students don't attend classes like every hour of every day. They work in groups and projects, and it's sort of student-directed learning. But every student in the school is responsible for identifying their area of gifting. And I actually mentioned this story when we were in Jamaica last and had our event at the Pegasus, where we had our luncheon. There was a student in that school that was gifted in sort of geometry, physics, architecture, and he developed a medical surgical instrument before he was even graduated from high school that was patented, that was saving people's lives.
Wow.
So we're thinking to ourselves, how much energy and opportunity is there within the minds and hearts of these young people that we just need to get them in a position where they can uncork and really do what they're destined to do and use the gifts that God gave them.
Yeah. All right. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for all the potential that exists. Mark Weil is the Executive Vice President at FACS International. Thank you so much, Mark Weil. Listeners, we're up on the next break. We'll take the break. And after the break, a part that I'm particularly excited about, robotics. And I hope I'm not too old. I hope I can learn some robotics. We'll come back with more.
The Leaders Conference of Choice is back on site at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. Register now for Middle Managers Leadership Conference. Call 876-978-60012 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com. Sponsored by Make Your Mark Group, Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, JPS, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Monographic Printers, Main Event Entertainment Group, Nationwide News Network, and Visual Tech Solutions. Middle Managers Conference, May 1 to 2, 2024. Sign up at www.makeyourmarkgroup.com.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
National Baking Company, just so good.
Importers. Shipments requiring you to pay customs duties and taxes are cleared on a customs goods declaration known as an IM4 or IMS4. Ask your clearing agent to provide your customs declaration, customs assessment notice, and customs receipt once duties and taxes are paid. Where your clearing agent may not be able to provide the IM4 or IMS4, request your customs goods declaration registration number or C number, which can be used to verify your payments. Importers, request your IM4, IMS4, or C number. It is your right. For details, email the Jamaica Customs Agency at public.relations@jca.gov.jm. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast, right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m., with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.